Alrighty, let's do this shit. Without further ado, welcome to another VOD review. This time we're gonna take a look at the Dallas Fuel versus the LA Gladiators in the grand finals of the kickoff of OWL 2022. Kickoff Clash, specifically. So yeah, let's dig in. Well, actually, we can illustrate the point here as well, but I think it's a lot more clear if we immediately jump to the third map of the entire series, which is... Wait, is this it? Yeah, it is. It is the third map. It is Route 66, on which the Dallas Fuel would use their signature Zarya composition, and the LA Gladiators would then use a theoretically countered composition by the Zarya in the form of not Reinhardt, but a Doomfist. And I say that because, well, a Doomfist needs to punch in and then get a kill, but you can counter that as Zarya simply by bubbling whoever they're targeting, right? And the LA Gladiators found a very ingenious yet simple way to get around this thing by using precisely the strength of the Zarya comp, which is its ability to stay in the fight for a very long time, because you have incredibly tanky heroes, right? Incredibly tanky heroes in the form of Zarya, obviously, and then a Reaper who can self-sustain with every shot, a Soldier 76 which can run, and then an Ana that will play in Narnia, play really far away from the fight, and of course Lucio. Lucio is incredibly evasive and very hard to kill. So how do you defeat a composition like this? Well, the LA Gladiators, well, actually, in my own small theory about Overwatch 2 and how you can counter maybe a Zarya, is similar to Overwatch 1. In Overwatch 1, the moment that you see Zarya comps are basically you need to win in this one push. Zarya comps need to win with bubble plus push, right? You need to win with the bubble, so you bubble someone and then you push into that. You push with that bubble, taking advantage of the fact that Zarya will have a high damage output because of all the charge that she will get. And then you push as a team, so it's basically one straight line. It's not much different from a Rhine composition. And then you take out the enemies one by one, and yeah, that's basically it. That's basically how you run a Zarya composition in Overwatch 1, and the way you defeat that composition is just to blow up the Zarya. So you hard focus the Zarya every single time before she gets the damage output, or before she gets the damage out to you. So hard focus Zarya, and that is basically how you defeat Zarya comps in Overwatch 1, right? So in Overwatch 2, it doesn't quite work that way because there's just so much healing and not really a lot of damage, and also there's not really a lot of stuns. So there's no real way to hard CC the Zarya. There's also no off tank that will just harass the back line, keeping the Zarya isolated so that the rest of the team can just hard focus the Zarya no problem and blow her up, right? There's nothing like that in Overwatch 2. And thus, just hard focusing the Zarya, while it might result in a win sometimes, it's not very consistent. So how does the LA Gladiators go about it? Well, here's the Achilles heel of the Zarya composition, right? The Zarya, like in Overwatch 1, can only bubble up to 2 people. But this time you've got the selection of either bubbling yourself or bubbling someone on your team, right? And it's incredibly useful because you can cleanse, you can get them out of trouble, you can cleanse, anti-nade, and so on and so forth, but there's only a very limited quantity of that. So how do you take advantage of it? By basically pressuring each and every single one on the Zarya composition. So if you can see right now, Edison got pressured, and he's probably wraithing out, right? So that means that Hanbin probably at some point had to bubble him, and Edison now has to wraith away because he doesn't want to die. He can no longer stay in the fight. Also, by forcing out these important cooldowns, like for example the wraith, the healing field of a Soldier 76, most of the bubbles of Azarya, and maybe the amp and the healing nade of an Ana, you force them away, which is basically what the Dallas Fuel are doing right now. They have to give space because they don't have the healing. They don't have the healing right now, and they don't have the cooldowns. Most importantly, they don't have the cooldowns to stay and take this territory and prevent the Gladiators from pushing in. And again, the Gladiators are able to do this by pressuring different heroes on the roster of the Dallas Fuel. So as you can see, like Sparkle's almost dead. Hanbin had to back off because he only had one bubble left, and he didn't want to get bursted because the moment that they see, oh, he used the second bubble, let's just go after him, and that's gonna win them the fight. That's gonna win the LA Gladiators the fight. And Edison can't go forward anymore because there's only one bubble left, and he was half health. So he has to back off. The rest of the Dallas Fuel has to back off. And right now it's incredibly difficult to get that healing as well because, as you can see, it's an Ana and a Lucio. The Lucio doesn't really want to amp heals unless they're already facing the enemy team or brawling in the enemy team, right? And being an Ana, the only AoE heal that you have is a nade, and you don't want to use that defensively, you want to use it offensively to get a kill. Because guess what? A dead enemy team means that you don't have to heal anyone, means no one on your team is probably gonna die. So you definitely want to use your nades in a more offensive manner rather than defensive. And look at this. Already, the LA Gladiators are just poking and surrounding, or trying to surround, the Dallas Fuel while pressuring point. Right? Patifan is over there. Kempster is trying to poke Sparkle, so that Sparkle has to concentrate on him. Right? And then she just pushes payload because he has full trust in the fact that the LA Gladiators' damage output, or the fact that Dallas Fuel are being pressured from different angles right now, right? Even the payload is a point of pressure, is going to be enough to make them stay put right here and nowhere else. They cannot engage. So Edison tries to TP forward, gets naded immediately after. Or actually, no, that was a friendly nade. I am confused by the nades. But yeah, like immediately after that, he had to wraith out because number one, he got focused, and he was being surrounded. He sensed that he was being surrounded. Secondly, this is probably something communicated by the Dallas Fuel. 3 of them, or at least 2 of them, got naded. So there's no attack, there's no engage, there's no support for Edison at all. No one's gonna be walking forward to help sandwich a target on the LA Gladiators. So it's a useless gesture. He needs to go back. He needs to back off. And that's precisely what he does, and that's also a wasted bubble. So now they're still trapped up there. They can't really move that much. And they're slowly getting picked off because, again, they don't really have the healing necessary because we have an Ana instead of a Moira. And I'll go to that point. That's when I kind of understood, okay, so that's why they switched, right? But yeah, having an Ana, you have Nade, which is great offensively, you have Nano Boost, which is great for just dealing more damage with one hero without maybe using another ult. But the problem is that you only have single target healing. And that means that your team actually needs to go fast. Your team needs to go fast into a Doomfist composition, which traditionally goes even faster than you. So that's going to be incredibly difficult. But yeah, if you're the Dallas Fuel, the way that you get out of this mess is you group up, and before the surround happens from the LA Gladiators, you need to pick a target. You need to pick a target and just kill them before they kill you, before they surround you completely. So I would say that the best target right now is Shu. And they just need to int into the payload, into Shu, while preferably not really taking that much casualties as they go for the rush. Unfortunately, they couldn't do that. Fielder switches to Moira, and the logic behind this is very simple. They now understand that yes, we need to group up, and we just need to push into them before they push into us, or before they start poking us individually, right? On the Dallas Fuel. And also, since the plan right now from the LA Gladiators is poke individuals instead of just hard focusing the Zarya or just hard focusing the backline, right? That means that the LA Gladiators now need to, what do you call this, pressure them even more. They need to be faster in their setups with their flanks. Otherwise, they're gonna get rolled by this composition right here, with or without ults. Although it's a lot more difficult if they have ults. Or a lot more easy for the Dallas Fuel if they had ults. But yeah. Anyway. So here we are. Already, immediately, they're trying to corral the Dallas Fuel into this wall room. Chemster is already on the flank. Reiner is already trying to go for the flank. The rest of the LA Gladiators kind of back off because they don't want to get run over. After they poke their heads a little bit too far forward, and because there is an offensive beat from Funny Astro, the rest of the LA Glads just collapse. Kevster maintains hard pressure from different angles, with Reiner trying to follow up each and every single one, and there you go. Again, just poking individual heroes against the Zarya on the Zarya composition just forces all of the cooldowns to be used. But yeah, that's the thing. You need to set up your flanks, and you also need to poke. You just need to poke over and over until all the bubbles are used, all the fields, the healing biotic fields are used, all the rates are used, and then that is basically it. So they get a pick off on Funny Astro. It's a little bit impactful in that you don't have a way to speed anymore, but the thing is, the LA Gladiators are already here, right? They're already in position. So while it is very unfortunate that Funny Astro is dead, the mere fact that the LA Glads are already where they want to be anyway, and because Funny Astro doesn't have any ults, means that this can still go either way from the LA Gladiators. They just need some key ultimates, some key picks. So beat is used just so that Sparkle can survive, and so that they can survive the Tactical Advisor with a nano boost. They still trade. Dallas Fuel are still up, but here's the thing: they're slowly running out of steam. They're slowly running out of cooldowns that they can use. Also, Fielder's ult got cancelled by a punch from Reiner, which is so key because that would have turned this fight completely around for the Dallas Fuel. But now it's a little bit dicey because again, they don't really have a lot of healing left. They don't have a lot of mobility left. There you go. Slowly but surely, they're getting picked off one by one. And again, if you look at the health bars, right? So Reiner, there we go. Reiner's getting pressured. Chiyo is getting pressured. Sparkle is also getting pressured a little bit, but he got healed. Hanbin is definitely getting pressured. So by just pressuring individual heroes and forcing out their cooldowns, LA Gladiators are winning this, without question. And while, yes, in theory, having a Moira, so that you can group up and heal in a cone, is probably going to be beneficial against this strategy by the LA Gladiators, but in the end, eventually, you will run out of healing. Right? You will run out of healing as Moira, and you need to go. And if you can't go, you're fucked. You're absolutely fucked. Because just so much poke. Oh. It seems I have lost my... There we go. For some reason it went missing for a second there, but there you go. So they re-engage. They have no choice as the Dallas Fuel because they're running out of time. The LA Gladiators immediately disengage because they don't really have to do anything right now. They just need to blow their cooldowns. Again, the plan for the LA Gladiators is bait cooldowns. Damn it. Bait cooldowns. Then re-engage. While the Dallas Fuel, they have to engage. They have to hard focus one target. And they need to hard focus that one target as a team. They cannot split. Not like the Los Angeles Gladiators. Though at this point, I don't really know why Funny Astro is holding the ult. Maybe because they just want to wait for a little bit to re-engage. That is so unlucky. He landed on the bomb, and then yeah, it's all over for this one, for this fight. But they still pushed it really, really far. So again, going for the surround. Right now, the Dallas Fuel are forced to group up here. And now Kevster's probably going to pressure point as a tracer, because that's typically tracer things in this comp, or basically in any comp in a payload that involves a tracer, right? Just pressure the payload and go for pokes and for cleanup kills. That's it. Okay. Fusion, or not the fusion. Sorry, that's tomorrow's going to be. That's tomorrow's VOD review. Fusion versus the the Soul Dynasty, which was a complete stop. But yeah, again, right here, you can see they have to go together. They're back on the ground. Fielder is hiding somewhere, but so now Chio is going to be pressured, and then Hanbin is also being pressured. Edison is also in there. And finally, they get a pick because in the chaos, Chio gets lost, right? There's just not enough, again, there's not enough cooldowns to keep everyone alive. There's just so much threat that the Dallas Fuel will have to account for, that they have to blow all their cooldowns before the actual engage happens. LA Glads back to their old reliable Reiner on Winston, and Dallas Fuel are back to their old reliable Zarya composition. And again, they're going to do the exact same voodoo that they did on the first point attack, or well, on attack in general. And it's to hard pressure several heroes on the Dallas Fuel so that they use their cooldowns and thus are easier to kill or have to back off. But unfortunately in this one, the LA Gladiators kinda went piecemeal. That was also a very unfortunate boop from the right click of Hanbin on Funny Astra. So they no longer have speed. So yeah, I think the plan right now for the LA Glads is to just feed on point so that they can reset a lot sooner. As per usual, Dallas Fuel, go forward. Take space. Interesting that Fielder is not the one pushing payload, it is actually Edison. Again, Dallas Fuel are going for their tried and true engage tactic of TPing the Reaper to the backline, hoping to get a kill or at the very least pressure them from going forward. Yeah, it's a little bit more difficult to implement the LA Gladiator tactics on defense, or on their defense, but I mean, you're still, if you're able to split up at any point, you're able to split up the Dallas Fuel, then it can still work. Like, for example, right now, Chio is being pressured, Hanbin is being pressured, Sparkle is being pressured. And Edison already needs a bubble slash a heal and maybe even forced to fade TP, but that TP is not going to be as offensive as he wants it to be. The beat, I think, was used so that Edison doesn't die. Yep, beat was used so that Edison wasn't going to die and so that Sparkle could also live. But again, they're already completely surrounded by the LA Gladiators. Shoot there. Funny Astro almost gets killed, but nah. And then they counter ult on the LA Glads. And this should be an easy wipe. An easy wipe. Chio unfortunately escapes, but most important bit is Hanbin does not keep the charge, right? And now we are in a more open space for the Glads, so their typical, or their strategy of just splitting targets and pressuring cooldowns out of the Dallas Fuel is going to be a lot easier. Okay, already one cooldown out of commission. That's field. Okay, Dallas Fuel right now are a little bit more careful. They're trying to rotate in a way that they're not completely surrounded, right? They didn't go through the tunnel. They instead, once clearing Kevster, I guess, from the tunnel or from this high ground, rotate like this and try to push payload as a group. I'm not sure I agree, because you are still going to be surrounded if you do this. And also Fielder is going to be left to try. Yeah, they're still getting surrounded. That's unfortunate though, that Reiner just overextends a little bit much. I would have preferred if Patty Fan... Actually, if Reiner went to the backline and Patty Fan kept pressuring backline, right? I think that would have been a better choice. But he decides that the Tracer needs help, and thus goes to the point. But then he gets trapped inside, and yeah, with a nano boost as well, and a grab. So I think that was very much winnable for the LA Glads. They just needed to stick to the plan. They just needed to stick to the plan and split them up hard. Ooh, funny Astro. You need help, man. He was getting low. He was getting really low. Okay. Right now they're not really able to split, but they were able to bait the engage though. I guess that's why they were grouped up the way that they are. They kind of anticipated this little move. And I guess that was also so that they can break the bubble immediately. The moment that he TPs. Yep, they just hard focus him. Doesn't matter if they give Hanbin so much charge. Yeah, again, this is what happens when you can't really split up or pressure anyone on Dallas Fuel to use cooldowns, right? You just get rolled. Because in that one, the only person who was really getting pressured was Hanbin. Which Hanbin probably enjoyed because that was the easiest bubbles of his life. And also easiest heals for a fielder too. Okay. So right now, they're doing what they need to do for the Dallas Fuel, which is to beat engage and play incredibly aggressive before the LA Gladiators are able to surround them. But the problem is that the LA Gladiators proceed with the trade. They're like, okay, we know that you're going for our backline. I don't think we can do anything for them. So tell you what, we're just gonna go and split up, cover the open space, and then try to get in position so that we can poke you from different angles again. So Shu was able to lead them in a merry race, or merry chase, not a merry race, but yeah, there you go. Katifan managed to outmaneuver this kill train right here of the Dallas Fuel and got a kill on Sparkle. And while yes, they managed to take out 2 members of the LA Gladiators, yeah, they're just being poked to death by the Gladiators. The Dallas Fuel are just getting poked to death by the Gladiators. We'll have to back off. Not to mention that was just a really good tac visor. But it was a good tac visor because everyone in the Dallas Fuel basically had no cooldowns. Because they had to use them before that. Because of the engage. And because they were poked. I wouldn't be surprised if you nano your Tracer here, but you probably nano your Soldier. Probably nano your Soldier. And yeah, this is another funny thing about their composition in Dallas Fuel, right? They need to group up. They actually need to group up. No one else can actually flank on their team except Sparkle. Because they're completely fucked. They have to blow so many cooldowns just to go for this TP play of a Reaper. Typical TP play of a Reaper. Yeah, I don't think... Was that bubbled even? The TP? The top? Wasn't even. But then again, there was a grab, so... It's fine. And now it becomes a little bit of a problem because you've got a nano-boosted Soldier who's poking everybody. Edison tries to go for a TP, but look at the rest of the Dallas Fuel. Again, look at the damage that they're taking. And Sparkle's almost dead, Chio's almost dead, Edison is almost dead. They're not really focusing fire on the side of the LA Gladiators because that's not the point. As counterintuitive as it is in terms of Overwatch 1 habits, right? No one's really focusing fire on the LA Gladiators because they don't have to. That's not the ideal solution against the Zarya composition. You need to defy your natural instincts from Overwatch 1 of focusing down one target to defeat the Zarya composition. And that's what makes the LA Gladiators and especially their coaching staff just really special in this one. Because they were they were able to figure out with other teams didn't really like get it. They followed their Overwatch 1 instincts and it netted them very mixed results, whereas the Gladiators pretty consistent results whenever they do it. So anyway, I'm gonna take a break, and when we come back we are going to discuss the Rhine composition and how to play it by the LA Gladiators. So see you then.